stay there until the warning has expired. We don't want you to get stuck in a situation where there's flying debris hitting your house or the tornado takes out part of your house. That could be an extremely dangerous situation. So that's why we want you to be in your safe place. And of course, we have that potential of wind damage regardless, which we've seen several times today from these storms without there even being a tornado. So let's go back to the velocity here. And it looks like we haven't had an update from radar yet, but of course, still focused on this part of the storm right here, south of Mayville, which will be heading close to Washington County. Looks like northwest of the Hartford area, so right about here and west of Interstate 41. This is going to be the location in the next radar scan that we'll see if the rotation has intensified or weakened. So this is going to be coming momentarily. We've seen the rotation, or the National Weather Service has indicated the rotation is aloft, so that's because the distance of the radar is still about a county away. So you can see the center of the radar there. We're watching that storm. If it's a little bit closer to the radar, we get the lower part of the storm. We can usually pick up on the actual tornado itself if it's on the ground. So the only thing we have to go off of right now is these funnel cloud reports. No report officially of a tornado on the ground, but we had funnel cloud reports and a possible tornado report a little bit further back just to the east of the Cambria area. So we had a couple reports, which is notable, especially at night. That means it was lit up by all of the lightning that we have across the storm. Over 200 lightning strikes that I mentioned. So that is tracking off to the south and east. Eventually, we'll be entering potentially western Washington County. So we got to watch out for this part of the storm here. We're going to go back to the velocity scan because we should have an update. Let's see. Not quite yet, but it should be coming in within the next 5 minutes here, and we'll get an update for when we can or where we can expect the rotation that'll be moving into potentially the Hartford area, Addison. We got to watch out for that as it heads off to the east. Make sure you are in your safe place in case this storm is producing an active tornado right now. So we have all the lightning strikes there, like I mentioned several times. Plenty of severity with this storm, regardless of the potential of a tornado. So let's go back to that velocity again. Still no update quite yet. Radar's a little bit behind here, but let's go through a few scans here, and you can see that rotation near the Beaver Dam area, and then continue to hold together, getting closer to Mayville there. So it's that part of the storm where we're seeing the winds going in one direction and then the other direction here. That is indicating rotation, and that's why we're so concerned about this cell moving into the area. So we have that tornado warning that continues until 11 p.m., and this is all due to the potential of that rotation across the area. And also we have plenty of strength to deal with on this side of the storm here. So how these thunderstorms work, they gather up heat and humidity on one side, and on the back side they try to produce cold air. And sometimes in between that, you can get rotation on the storm. And so this part of the storm here is ingesting the warm air. The cool air comes back here. And depending on the setup, if there's rotation in the atmosphere or spin called shear, you can actually get rotation that interacts with the hot and cold air together. And that also creates this little hook here that creates eventually what's called a mesocyclone, rotating winds above, and then eventually the tornado that is produced below that. So right now we have that rotation, the mesocyclone above, and we're watching that closely. You can see that on the velocity scan here. Still no update from the radar quite yet, but that's the location that we are watching very closely. We're going to go back to that storm relative velocity here. This is a different product that looks a little bit further up into the clouds, and you can see consistent rotation for this storm all the way aloft as well. Meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello has now joined me. We are going to keep an eye on this storm as it moves a little bit further to the south here, but plenty of lightning across the area. Over 200 strikes. That's indicating the storm has a strong updraft, producing a lot of hail on the northern side of the storm, and then a strong downdraft on the other side. You need to have the combination of both to get that tornado to be produced in this type of scenario. So lots of lightning. The storm heading off to the south and east. Anywhere within this red box, you want to be inside your house, away from windows, into the lowest level of your house, get into a basement, get into an interior room. You want as many walls between you and the outside of your house as possible. We were talking about hail with this. That's also an indication of the strength of the storm, and it looks like over the last radar scan here, this is promising. It does look like this is going to become a little bit more what we call outflow dominant. So that cold air is starting to push ahead of the storm. It should start to cut off some of the rotation. So Steph has joined me. We're going to continue to keep you updated on this storm here. And Steph, has anything come in from the Weather Service?
Sure. Thanks, AJ. You know, we're still watching that little rotation south of Mayville. You can still kind of pick it up if you zoom in just a little bit more, where you're seeing some of those bright, blues and greens just south of the Mayville area. So that's just the latest from emergency management in that area, relayed through the National Weather Service. So once again, that's the main spot that we're watching. But to go over the basics again, let's talk about this. There's a tornado warning that continues until 11 p.m. and that is for Dodge County. So you can see, once again, this cell is continuing to make its way through parts of Dodge County at the moment. But we are watching, number one, for, of course, that tornadic potential, but then also for some of that hail as well as frequent lightning and very heavy rain. In fact, earlier in our chat with the National Weather Service, spotters were actually having a hard time because of how heavy the rain was, and traffic was slow due to the heavy rains as well. So this certainly is not a storm that you want to go out and try to see. Make sure you are sheltering. Seek shelter immediately if you haven't done so already. Let me just read through the latest from the National Weather Service. Let's see here. Just going to hold on to the tornado warning for a few more minutes. That's the latest from the National Weather Service. So once again, this does continue until about 11 p.m. It's about 10:30 right now. And this is a hefty storm, AJ, that did perk up pretty quickly in the past, let's say, 20, 30 minutes. You can see how many lightning strikes are really out ahead of this storm, too. On my drive in, I mean, you can see it as you look towards the north, all of the lightning that is associated with this storm. This is a live view in the Milwaukee area right now from one of our tower cams. So frequent lightning, once again. Heading into storm reports, there was a funnel cloud reported. This was right around 10:06, so certainly something to prompt that tornado warning that was put into effect just a short time ago for Dodge County. So still watching that area near Beaver Dam. And I'm going to put up velocity scans again, because that, of course, is the number one tool that we look at when we are looking for the possibility of tornadic development, tornadic activity. That shows us where the circulation is. So once again, the latest from the National Weather Service was that the emergency management area near Mayville was going to check on a little bit of rotation just south of there, and still watching near Beaver Dam, of course, as well, which is the spot that actually prompted the tornado warning to actually go into effect. So let's go over the basics again. Once again, we do have a tornado warning for Dodge County. So this continues until 11 p.m. And this is for that cell that's near Dodge County. So there's rotation clearly on radar that we've been watching very, very closely, and that was what prompted the warning to actually go into effect. Out ahead of this, this is also a severe thunderstorm warning. The surrounding area, you can see the orange boxes, which do extend into parts of Washington County. That right now, primary threat, of course, is going to be those stronger wind gusts that we dealt with earlier in the evening with that Boeing line that made its way through the area. So hail as well as strong wind for parts of Washington County, as well as surrounding the tornado warning itself. And then just a lot of lightning, even from the Milwaukee area. As you're looking north, you can see the light show that we have out there right now. But primary concern, cell near Beaver Dam right now. That's what prompted the tornado warning, which does go once again until about 11 p.m. So you can kind of still see some of the broader rotation that's near the Beaver Dam area. Actually, yeah, putting that into, AJ, thank you, into motion here. You can actually see it looked a little bit better in previous scans. Looks like it might be getting a little bit messier at the moment, but still an area to watch. And certainly still seeing some stronger winds within this area of thunderstorm activity throughout the rest of Dodge County, as well as now making its way into parts of Washington County. Let's see, our producer Jeff just said we have a live camera in Highway D, northern Washington County. Okay, take a look at this. This is I-41. Look at the rain and the lightning. You can tell just how heavy the rain is and how strong the wind is. You can actually see the rain in this video. So you just know that this is a very strong storm making its way through parts of Dodge as well as Washington County. Now, Washington County itself, once again, still just under that severe thunderstorm warning at the moment, but still very strong wind out of this. AJ, do we have anything from the National Weather Service at all? Anything new?
No update from the previous update, but like you're mentioning, Steph, this is the side of the storm. Look at all the lightning there. This is the powerhouse side of the storm, and of course, the other side of the storm, the rain-cooled air, is wrapping around the back side, and that's what's helping to aid that rotation.
Right, exactly. So once again, tornado warning includes places like Mayville, Eustisford, as well as Beaver Dam, which once again was kind of that main area that prompted the warning to actually go into place. Zooming in a little bit more, I mean, really just northern, especially parts of Dodge County, as well as western parts of Dodge County under this tornado warning. And then off towards Washington County, that is more of a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment, which also continues until about 11 p.m. But clearly, we just showed you that live camera. The wind is obviously still very strong, even in the parts of Washington County that are not under the tornado warning. It's really just that severe thunderstorm warning. But these greens indicating, look at some of these wind speeds, probably closer to about 40, 45 miles per hour. So hunker down if you are in Washington County, especially within that severe thunderstorm warning. And then once again across parts of Dodge County, where look at south of Beaver Dam, clearly still a little bit of a signature out there where that tornado warning is in effect. Putting this into motion here, watching the couplet that you can see just south of the Beaver Dam area continuing to track off towards the southeast here. So taking more of a southerly track in that last loop. So south of Beaver Dam and then really anywhere across eastern parts of Dodge County, need to be watching the radar, specifically listening to us, and if you have a weather radio, keep that on. That's very helpful in situations like this as well. Off towards the east of this, that severe thunderstorm warning does once again extend into parts of Washington County, but heads up Washington County. I know that cell, it's still off towards the west a bit more, but it is tracking off towards the southeast. So even though it's just a severe thunderstorm warning right now, still has very strong wind, but that tornado warning, we'll just have to watch how that cell continues to progress off towards the east. Here dinging, that's usually something new from the National Weather Service, so let's check in with AJ.
So they expanded the severe thunderstorm warning around the storm. Notice how it's a little bit further to the south now. So the Weather Service is concerned about strong gusty winds with this, but also the rotation's kind of spread out a bit within the storm. So on the southern side of the warning, we have some rotation concern that's pretty minor. On the northern side of that warning, we had that significant rotation we talked about earlier with the multiple funnel cloud reports. So this storm is likely going to evolve into more of a straight-line wind threat, which could still do some damage across the area. And we'll go back to the velocities here. You can see that stretching from the Kewaskum area all the way back down closer to Watertown. So everything in this green color here, further back, south and east of Mayville, south of Beaver Dam, that's all 40-plus mile-an-hour winds. And if any of those winds come together, like we saw a little bit earlier, we could be talking about 80-mile-an-hour winds together producing a tornado. So that's why we have the tornado warning. And of course, you want to make sure you're inside your safe place, lowest level of your house, into a basement until the warning expires. Anywhere within the red polygon, places like Eustisford, Hubbard, Mayville, everywhere in eastern parts of Dodge County right now. And if you're in western Washington County, we also want to watch out for that. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning that also includes looks like parts of northern Ozaukee County just issued here. So go over that real quick.
It's a zoomed in view of northern Ozaukee County. So this part of the storm has perked up a little bit. Once again, just a lot of lightning especially, but still that same threat. Very strong wind speeds, over 60 miles per hour, as well as some hail. Here's our velocity scan again, more so looking in at northern Ozaukee County. There are definitely still some higher wind gusts within this area being picked up by radar, as well as some hail. You can definitely see some hail that getting closer to Lake Michigan, which is certainly some good news, but south of Belgium, north of Port Washington, you could see over a half-inch size hail with this cell as it continues to move on through. So primary threats for Ozaukee counties, northern Ozaukee counties, that is, severe thunderstorm warning is going to be hail, as well as those 60-mile-per-hour wind speeds, potentially even a little bit more, plus heavy rainfall and a lot of lightning. So that is an additional severe thunderstorm warning, as well as what we have in parts of Washington, as well as Dodge County. And of course, still watching that tornado warned cell very closely. Heading into, let's see, it's about 10:40 right now, still the next 20 minutes or so. I mean, this is a pretty big storm now making its way just east of the Beaver Dam area, so crossing now into eastern portions of Dodge County and still even towards the north, southern portions of Fond du Lac County, soon to be far southwestern Sheboygan County, going to get in on some of this heavy rainfall, that frequent lightning. I'm sure you're hearing rumbles, absolutely, and we'll just have to watch for the wind potential even in those spots towards the north, because clearly this area of thunderstorm activity is packing a bit of a punch right now, definitely capable of producing those very strong winds, which we did already see earlier this evening with that Boeing line of storms that made its way on through. So once again, here's the main event here, or here's what we're tracking right now at the moment. Southern Fond du Lac, southern southwestern Sheboygan counties not under warnings right now, but northern Ozaukee County under a severe thunderstorm warning that's still relatively new. And then we have parts of Washington County still included in that warning, Dodge County severe thunderstorm warning, and that tornado warning still for central parts of Dodge County. So you can see putting a timeline on this here, more so in that strongest cell that's across parts of Washington as well as Dodge County, places like Grafton closer to about 10:59, Menominee Falls, Brown Deer, so kind of pushing it towards the southeast a little bit more, eventually having it impact northern parts of Milwaukee County. We'll of course have to watch its strength as it progresses towards the southeast, but still going to be with us here for at least the next hour, of course. Here's another look at velocity scans, really peaking just west of West Bend. We could potentially see wind gusts closer to 55, maybe even up to 60 miles per hour in that bright blue spot that you can see. In fact, that latest scan, 65 miles per hour, just north of Hartford too, also seeing a little bit of blue there. And anywhere within this green, that's likely still wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. So once again, that severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 11:15. In effect for a reason. Very strong wind within this storm as it continues to push off towards the east southeast. So heads up, West Bend, Kewaskum, I know you're north of the strongest part, but still you're definitely dealing with some strong wind at the moment. And then even farther towards the east and southeast across Washington County, know that this storm is incoming and it is capable of producing winds up to 60 miles per hour. Now back to that tornado warning. It continues until 11 o'clock. AJ, do we have anything new from the National Weather Service on that cell specifically?
The Weather Service did mention that it's going to be a little difficult for them to see it moving into the wind farm area that's in Dodge County.
Okay.
But there are no plans to extend it. This just came in now into Washington County at this time. So they're not seeing that significant rotation that we had. But of course, like we were just talking about, strong straight line winds.
Right. And we really need to still treat straight line wind the same as we would tornado potential, because it just doesn't have the rotation, but it could be just as strong. So looking at velocity scans again, this just tells us the wind speed within the storm. It also shows us if there's any rotation. That's when we look to see when the red meets the green, and that means it's spinning a little bit. So we obviously do not have that right now across northwestern parts of Washington County, but we're still seeing those stronger signatures showing up, those brighter blues, those brighter greens, indicating that wind gusts are well over 50 miles per hour. In fact, again, just west of West Bend, that's nearly 65-mile-per-hour gusts, and it may not be translating to the surface as that strong, but it's still a possibility. Let's take another look at that DOT camera that we looked at earlier in Washington County. And I mean, really, it looks the exact same. You can tell, number one, that there is a lot of lightning. It looks like actually we have a driver off on the shoulder now, likely because the rain is so heavy. I mean, if you look very closely, you can tell that the wind is just blowing that rain. So rain is falling at a very heavy rate. If you do have to travel this evening, be prepared for very heavy rainfall, but try to hang back if you can until this cell passes, because with that potential for winds 60, 65 miles per hour, that is going to make travel very tricky and very dangerous. So something to keep in mind as the evening goes on. Here's a look at satellite and radar right now. So still watching northern Ozaukee County for that severe thunderstorm warning, western Washington, as well as parts of Dodge County, and right in the middle, that central Dodge County storm, that is still that tornado warn cell. But we heard from AG a short time ago that at this point, rotation's becoming a little bit more messy, not as organized as what we were seeing earlier, so the National Weather Service does not plan on pushing that into Washington County, but it is still a cell that we need to watch very closely. It did perk up pretty quickly previously, so we'll still watch as it continues to move off towards the east. So that severe thunderstorm warning for Dodge, parts of Fond du Lac and Washington, that's until about 11. Ozaukee's is until about 11:15. So within any part of this storm, so that's southern Fond du Lac, southern Sheboygan County, northern Ozaukee, Washington, and Dodge County, we're still looking for that potential for strong straight line wind damage. Velocity scans have already shown the potential for winds over 60 miles per hour, especially approaching the West Bend area. So seek shelter if you are anywhere within these northern communities, and just know that the strong wind really is looking like a decent possibility at the moment. Frequent lightning, very heavy rainfall, plus it's dark. You're not going to be able to see anything in Dodge County even if you were trying to look, but seek shelter immediately still. In fact, let's see here, that was a new update. I think the tornado warning, I'll confirm with AJ, has been allowed to expire a little bit early. Perfect. So that's great news there. But once again, we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning now. So that's for parts of eastern Dodge County, as well as western parts of Washington County until 11. And then Ozaukee County, northern Ozaukee County, that is, that warning continues until 11:15. If we can quickly go back over to velocity scans, I just want to check in, AJ, real quick on how the wind is looking. West Bend, hunker down, stay sheltered, because there is likely still some very strong wind approaching your area. I mean, velocity scans, once again, still well over 60 miles per hour. And it looks like just east of Hartford now, starting to see some stronger winds peaking up where you're seeing some of those brighter blues. So there is still some very strong wind, dangerous wind moving through northern and central portions of Washington County. Yeah, looped velocity, you can just tell how it really does strengthen as it continues to move off towards the east southeast. So this will continue to drift southeastward through eventually portions of eastern Washington County, and then it will be approaching Ozaukee County. I know northern Ozaukee County under a warning right now. Sounds like there is a new warning, so let's check in on that real quick. I know AJ has a new timing track on screen too, so we've got a few new cities on there for you as this continues to track off towards the southeast. Let's see here. Severe thunderstorm warning, Dodge, Ozaki, Washington until 11:45. So really it just fills in the rest of Washington County as well as the rest of Ozaki County and continues it until about 11:45. So this is because this storm just continues to drift off towards the southeast, and there is still that threat for winds over 60 miles per hour. So here's the full view of this area of showers and thunderstorms that will continue to track off towards the southeast. Again, a lot of lightning in here, a lot of heavy rainfall. Watch for ponding on roadways, very heavy rain falling within these cells, and then still a decent hail threat as well. Look at this, just north of Rubicon, definitely seeing some hail cores on that cell as it continues to track into parts of Washington County. And then this is northern Ozaki County. You can still see within that warned cell that there is at least some hail, potentially up to about a ½ inch, but certainly still being detected that there could be at least some smaller hail in the vicinity. So strong winds within these. Winds over 60, maybe even approaching 65 miles per hour, especially in Washington County. You can still see some of those brighter blues approaching West Bend and just off towards the west, as well as still towards the northeast and just east of Hartford. Jackson, heads up, this will be tracking into your area here shortly. Grafton, you're not quite in the thick of it just yet, but central southern Ozaki County, you will eventually get in on this thunderstorm activity as this continues to drift. And look at that cell that just popped right off of the lake, likely an outflow, but that moved out over Lake Michigan. So Milwaukee missed out on that one. If we could put a track on this again, AJ, drifted off towards the southeast a bit so we can see how it approaches, especially portions of northern Milwaukee County. Remind me of its speed real quick, AJ, if you can.
It's moving at about 35 miles an hour right now.
Okay, so southeast about 35 miles per hour. Hartford 1052, Mequon 1112, Menominee Falls about 1119, Brookfield 1135, potentially Milwaukee if it maintains its current speed, its current strength, closer to about 1145. So once again, we no longer have that tornado warning, which is great news. But there is still some very strong wind associated with these storms, especially in parts of Washington County right now. So anywhere within Dodge, Washington, or Ozaki County, you're going to be dealing with potentially winds over 60 miles per hour, wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. Some of our scans earlier picked up on closer to about 65 miles per hour. So still some dangerous weather that we need to seek shelter, stay inside until these storms pass, and then areas towards the south, northern Waukesha, northern Milwaukee County, know that even just in the next hour, we could still be dealing with these storms maintaining their strength as they track off towards the south. But the good news is that tornado warning previously for Dodge County has been allowed to expire. I'm going to step off screen real quick, just check in with our chat program and see what we have from the National Weather Service. Definitely seeing more of a complex of storms now rather than that discrete cell that we saw pop in parts of Dodge County earlier that once again really allowed that tornado warning to be issued. So really the main threat going forward with these really is going to be the strong straight line wind potential. Still just west of West Bend, really across West Bend right now, and Washington County is where you're seeing some of that really strong wind showing up on our velocity scans, which once again is just a fancy tool that we use to look at wind speed within a thunderstorm as well as rotation. Usually when we see the reds and the greens coming together, that means that there's some spin in the atmosphere. Just checking in with We Energies too. 22,000, over 22,000 without power at the moment. Customers affected. Likely a decent amount from earlier this evening, that line of activity that moved through earlier this evening, but certainly across Dodge and Washington County and of course parts of Ozaki County, with that wind at its current strength, certainly could still see damage as well as power outages. Let's actually zoom that map out a little bit more, AJ, since we're still on here, and look at that complex of storms off towards the west. Now our computer models have been showing a couple more rounds throughout our overnight hours. So we obviously still have some severe weather at the moment. We'll have to watch what's off towards the west, but at the moment, that looks like primarily some heavy rain. Doesn't look like there's any severe activity off towards the west just yet or at the moment. So, and it's still certainly a ways away. That'll be an overnight round of showers and thunderstorms going forward. So still primarily watching these 3 severe cells that we have across Dodge, Washington, and Ozaukee County. So here's the latest timing for you here. Mequon, not too far away, about 11:12. Menominee Falls as you get closer to about 11:20. And then we've got Brookfield, 11:35, and then inching its way towards the Milwaukee County, Milwaukee itself, closer to about 11:45. It is 10:54 at the moment. No tornado warning, which is great news, but these cells, as they continue to drift towards the southeast, could still bring in winds over 60 miles per hour. Although this velocity scan does look much better than what it did earlier. Not seeing as bright of blues as what we had earlier, indicating those 60, 65 mile per hour winds, but still you can definitely see over 50 miles per hour, not out of the question. And you know, sometimes the velocity scans don't necessarily translate to the surface as strong, but it does tell us that the potential is there for some of these strong straight line wind speeds across the area. And again, that does include parts of Ozaukee County. Towards the south, Waukesha and Milwaukee County haven't really seen much, if any of this at the moment, but southern parts of Fond du Lac County as well as southern parts of Sheboygan County have certainly been dealing with the showers and thunderstorms through the night tonight, but with this area over the last hour. So going over timing here, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Dodge, Fond du Lac, and Washington for just about 5 more minutes until 11. That was that first warning that kind of surrounded the tornado warning across Dodge County. But then we do have southern portions of those counties, especially Washington into Ozaukee. Those continue until 11:45. So we do still have, I'd say, at least another 30 minutes to an hour of this potential for very strong straight line winds. Plus, a lot of lightning in this. We have very heavy rainfall, and this is on top of some thunderstorm activity that we saw earlier this evening too. Some spots already have dealt with some wind damage from estimated winds between 60 and almost 70 miles per hour with that line that moved through earlier this evening. So this is just additional thunderstorm activity. Still stay sheltered if you are in Dodge, Washington, or Ozaukee County because of that potential for those strong straight line winds. And just know that these are just very slowly drifting towards the southeast. So still will likely impact northern parts of Waukesha County as well as at least northern Milwaukee County, maybe central and even southern parts of Milwaukee County in the next hour. You can see the timing for those 3 severe thunderstorm warnings ending between about 11 and 11:45. We'll see northern parts of the counties being trimmed first, especially northern parts of Dodge County, as this cell really is just covering east central parts of Dodge and on into Washington and Ozaukee County. We've seen a lot of activity so far tonight. There is more activity off towards the west right now, but none of it is severe at the moment. It is still producing heavy rainfall though. So even after this batch, we do still have the chance for more overnight tonight. But at this point, it does look like it's really going to be that heavier rain that could be our primary threat going forward. So at the moment, still dealing with the potential for strong straight line winds in these 3 counties and eventually northern Waukesha and parts of Milwaukee counties. We are going to check in with the National Weather Service just real quick. It looks like we really have no more updates, so that's always a good thing. I'm going to put up our velocity scan one more time, and then I am going to check in real quick on hail potential because we haven't talked a ton about hail, more so about the wind because that does still look to be our biggest threat here. West Bend down to now almost southern Washington County, where you're seeing some of those brighter blues. Jackson, Richfield, Hartford. Zooming in a little bit more, you can definitely still see Slinger, one of the spots dealing with potentially some of those stronger wind speeds. And then over into portions of Ozaukee County. Grafton likely starting to see a decent amount of activity at the moment. Let's check in with hail real quick. We do still have hail cores in eastern parts of Dodge County, central parts of Washington County, as well as northern portions of Ozaukee County. So these cells are still warned for a reason. Once again, we have northern Dodge, northern Washington County, as well as extreme south central parts of Fond du Lac County under that warning for only another minute. And then southern parts of Dodge, Ozaukee, and Washington County continuing until 11:45. We will be watching these tracking towards the southeast into northern Waukesha and Milwaukee County in the next hour. The same threats still apply. So we'll be watching this very closely, even just in the next hour or so.
All right, Steph, thank you so much. We have AJ in the studio now because AJ, this is something we don't always like to do, but we have to do. We kept you busy, but today is your last day. You've been here for more than 3 years.
Yes, almost 3.5 years. So it's been a while, and I want to thank all the loyal fans and viewers that tuned in every weekend to watch shows every Friday night. Yep. It was kind of a wild end to the day. Hopefully there was no tornado touchdown. Right. It was a serious evening, but looks like the severe weather is going to wind down a little bit.
Okay, good. Well, AJ, we're going to miss you.
Yes, I'll miss this place too.
Okay, Wisconsin will always miss you. And remember, you always have a place here. So
yes, I can always
come back, all right? Hey, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll keep you updated on all the weather as we continue throughout the night. Have a good night.